Hey there, everybody. James here. And today we're going to talk about how I make the decision around which watches in the collection I want to travel with. And, there's some different ideas that you can use whenever you're deciding on a piece like this. I did a video a while back around traveling with a single watch. So today we're talking about, how do you build a combo or, maybe three pieces or even a small collection that you're going to bring with you when you travel and what might be the reasons for that. So I'm going to give you how I approach this and would love to hear your thoughts as well in the comments or which pieces are your favorites. So let me know down in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe to the channel. And let's dive into it. So as you can see, I've got two of my favorite pieces to travel with here that give me a really nice combination of sport and dress. Now you might be saying, "Well, hold on a minute, James. These are both kind of sports watches, right? Because they're both typically on bracelet, other than the fact that I have the Rolex on a rubber B strap, and they're water resistant. One has a GMT or a dual time function. So like, what's the deal here? Why you don't really have a lot of versatility in that? That might be the case, but as I've talked about before, I have a little bit of a different idea around what a dress versus a sport piece actually means. And I kind of flip the script a little bit. Again, I have my Jaeger LeCoultre. You can see some other videos where I feature that watch. And that's kind of my most traditionally named dress watch that I have in the collection, but I don't often wear it as a dress watch, and there's reasons for that. I just think that if I'm going to a formal event, which in this case I am, and I'm looking for something that really has a clean look to it, it's simple, but there's still some subtle details that I like. That's one of the reasons why I generally go with the Grand Seiko. So let me pull this out here. And let's talk a little bit about the Grand Seiko. So again, this is the SLGA 017. And my favorite thing about it is that if you're seeing it at a distance, obviously when you're up close, you notice a lot more detail. But when you're seeing it at a distance, it does have a lighter dial. It's the lightest dial of anything in my collection. And so it almost looks just like a very clean, kind of a plain and simple watch. And, again, if I'm wearing formal attire, in this case, I'm attending a wedding that's kind of an all black wedding. This is going to have really nice contrast with that. And it's also, again, going to bring those subtle details, right? You've got the blue chapter ring around the outside. You've got the blue fired seconds hand, that beautiful spring drive sweep that you see with Grand Seiko. And you also have, again, when you get really up close to it, this amazing snowy textured dial. And again, this is just one of those things that you appreciate it on the wrist as a collector, but someone seeing the watch from across the room, it's going to look just almost like a plain white watch. And it also has that nice reflective quality because, again, you have the Zaratsu polishing on the indices. And I just love, as you can see, the way that it reflects the light. From up close or from afar. So for me, this piece, even though it may kind of fall a little bit into that sports category, it's a bracelet, it's water resistant, it's got a time and date. Like there's plenty of options. It's very durable. I do almost think of this more as like a formal dress piece, and that is exactly why I have it in the collection. Again, if I had other dress pieces in the collection, I may view it a little bit differently. Something more traditional on a strap, like a reverso, or if I have a piece coming up that I'm actually going to be getting that I'm really excited about that I think might take that spot. But for now, at least, I do think Grand Seiko can make a really good dress watch in the collection. And the other nice thing about it is it's not something that people really know, right? So obviously, if you go to a wedding and you're wearing a Rolex, like people are going to know because they're just so well known. They're so easily identified as a Rolex. And that's okay. But some of us watch collectors, we just kind of like those if you know kind of pieces. And with this one, I think that definitely falls into that category. So that's one of the reasons that I really appreciate this watch and tend to use it as a formal dress piece, even though it can double as like a casual, maybe like a date night piece, or just wearing it on the weekend with shorts and a t-shirt. So that's why I really like taking the Grand Seiko with me when I travel, if I have a formal event to attend. So now let's talk about the Sky Dweller. Y'all have seen this on my channel before, most likely, but this is my go-to travel watch. And again, I am a huge fan of putting it on rubber B straps, because if you look at the color, again, the dial is this like sunburst blue, kind of navy color. Obviously, depending on the lighting, it changes a little bit. But it's really got a great quality to it. And I love the fact that you get two different hues of blue in the strap. So you've got this kind of navy color as the primary color on the strap. And then you also have this lighter kind of Pacific or royal blue that's on the outside of it. And you can use it with the factory clasp, because I do really like that about Rubber B. So this watch as a travel watch, kind of a no-brainer. Obviously has a dual time function in the center, and it's an annual calendar. So just really kind of checks all the boxes there. Again, if you're not familiar with the Sky Dweller, the annual calendar feature is great because the little apertures around the outside here actually tell you the month. So as you can see right now, the 9th month is red, and what that means is we're in the 9th hour. Aperture is red, and that means we're in the 9th month of the year, which means it's September 24th. So just a really useful feature there. And then also the second time zone is super helpful. As you travel, it's really easy, and I'll demonstrate this if you've not seen it before with the Sky Dweller, because it is one of my favorite functions of this watch. So again, with most watches, when you pull the crown out and you just rotate the crown, you're winding the watch. If I pull it out and I move the crown with the bezel in the first position, it does nothing. It absolutely does nothing. Now, if I decide that I want to, let's say, jump across a time zone, now when I move it to the first position, so I turn it 90 degrees, or the first kind of tick, you'll feel it if you touch one. You turn the bezel, what is that, counterclockwise. Now I have the ability to change the date, and you can see it changing back there. I'm not going to adjust that because that's not what I want to show you. If I go one more, now I have the ability to move the local hour hand, and this is really useful. I'm not going to jump the date forward because I don't want to do that. It's also nighttime right now, so I could jump the date forward if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. But that doesn't make it really easy to travel with, because all you need to do is you just turn your bezel a couple clicks, and then you can adjust the local hour hand with that central time zone right here as your reference time. So that's exactly how this watch works, is your reference time is always here, and then you can set your local time using that change of the independent hour hand, and it's very functional. I also like, again, this on bracelet. I think it looks really sporty, and even though, again, Rolexes tend to be a sports watch, the fluted bezel, I think, does make it a little bit more formal looking, but with this strap on it, very few people will recognize it. Not a lot of people are going to know what this is unless they're really kind of a watch enthusiast or like a watch person. They may recognize the fluted bezel, but I think the strap typically throws people off. So even though, sometimes you can hear stories about traveling with a Rolex and the fact that it's not safe to do, things like that, I do feel a lot more comfortable traveling with this piece when it's on the strap. So I do think that helps. And then again, it just gives you all the functions that you need, and it's also water resistant, so if you take it in a pool or something like that, it's not going to be bothered by that because you've got the nice screw down crown. So that is how I think about traveling with watches. I do think it's a fun topic because there's so many options out there, like depending on what you have in your collection, there are probably pieces that work better and maybe not as well to take the spot of your travel pieces in your collection. So would be curious to know, what do you like as your favorite travel watches? Do you have 2 or 3 that you often travel with, or maybe you just travel with one, because that's okay too. Again, I've done plenty of trips just in traveling just with my Sky Dweller because it is very versatile and doubles as a dress piece. Like if I were to throw it on a bracelet, I think it actually doubles up as a dress piece really, really nicely. So those are some of my thoughts. Again, would love to hear your thoughts as well. So go ahead and like the video. Please leave your comments down below and subscribe to the channel because, again, my goal for you is that you get out of watches whatever you want to get out of watches, because I want you to know and love your collection and be a satisfied collector. So thanks again for tuning in, and I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.